So what Vivek said was not totally true, Shaw pondered. Unclear, sir, Crichton answered. The site was abandoned, but there were signs of an evacuation. How long ago? It would have been only hours before, not days. Just before we arrived in the system, Shaw thought. Any idea how extensive? What was there? There were signs of inhabitation, but nothing suggesting large scale. No signs of the factory being used in connection with these rogue starfighters. Further, there was no sign of weapons emplacements or fortifications. Foot traffic and animal tracks mostly. We have no way of knowing if speeders were used, but given the other low-tech signs of evacuation, I doubt it. It could be that squatters moved in when the terrorists were cleared out. Then they fled when a patrol came by. It could all be coincidence, Crichton concluded. Shaw stood rubbing his chin deep in thought. Shaw believed in coincidences. They happened every day, but only a fool trusted coincidences. Sir? Crichton interrupted his thinking. Shaw waved his hand. It could very well be. Then again, Prophet Tomlin said, one coincidence could be chance. Two, almost always a plot. We need to keep an eye on Governor Vivek's. Understood, sir. Crichton seemed hesitant. In the meantime, sir? Set a patrol course. I want to inspect the Imperial installations in the system. I also want to know if any Imperial forces can confirm the existence of these starfighters. If they do exist, eliminating them should be our first priority. We have never witnessed these starfighters firsthand, Captain Vizoth answered as his hologram flickered but then straightened. Although we can attest for the damage they have done, several communications relays have been damaged by laser cannon fire. The fact that these relays were not destroyed seems to suggest they are incapable of carrying torpedoes or bombs. Assuming your enemy lacks ability just because they have not used it is dangerous, Captain, Shaw cautioned. We must act based on what our enemy could do, not what we believe they will do. I understand, sir. The holographic image stood straighter. At ease, Captain, Shaw soothed. He had not meant to rebuke the man. Tell me about these relays and what happened. The holographic image relaxed slightly. The relays are needed to extend clear communications coverage outside the system. While the internal of the system is clear, Cordova is orbited by debris fields of failed planets. These asteroid fields interfere with communications, requiring the usage of signal-boosted relays for merchant ships navigating through the transit corridors. The relays are left unprotected? Are they civilian relays? No, sir, Crichton chimed in. On Shaw's command table, a schematic hologram flashed into existence. The relays are Old Republic Type 2. They are somewhat antiquated, but do include deflector shields and dual automated blaster cannons. What is the pattern of attack? Unknown. Normally, we receive the automated distress signal from a relay, but by the time we arrive, the attackers are gone. And the scan data from the relay? That should give us at least an idea of what the terrorists have. That is the most distressing thing, Admiral, Captain Vizoth explained. Even when we arrive and the relay is only lightly damaged, the sensor data is always missing. Normally, the relay systems are so damaged that we cannot retrieve any useful data. However, in several cases, the data was simply not there. Do you mean it was deleted? Sliced? If the systems were sliced, we found no sign of it. It was almost like the data was just not recorded at all. We have salvaged some of the combat computer data, so we know how the automated defense systems reacted, what the droid brain calculated as the best defense. Still, as for even an image of the attacking force, nothing. Captain Vizoth shook his head. Continue your investigation, Captain, Shaw concluded. I will see you in person at Lunar Station 1. Shaw turned from the table and again rubbed his chin. Things simply did not add up. The attackers knew at least approximately how much time they had before Imperial forces could respond. The damage to the relays was consistent and efficient. Their ability to simply vanish meant they could jump to hyperspace. A ship capable of carrying and launching a wing of strike craft sufficient to overwhelm the relay would be much more difficult to hide. All suggested that the fighters themselves were jump capable. This made the hypothetical situation even more confusing. Virtually all modern starfighters, certainly any capable of making the jump to hyperspace, would be able to carry heavy munitions. A few concussion missiles or proton torpedoes would have destroyed the relays. They are a distraction, but why? Crichton commented. A distraction, Shaw questioned. How do you come to that conclusion? Most of the relays were damaged, but not enough so that they were unable to be repaired. The attackers want the relays operational, but are using them to keep Imperial forces moving. The timing does not make sense. The attacks do not correspond with any other activity. Outsisting merchant shipping attacks show no real correlation, so I doubt the pirates are trying to lure Imperial forces away. We are missing something, Captain, Shaw concluded. Before we can put together the puzzle, we first have to know how many there are. Are the pirate raids, terrorists, and relay attacks all connected, or are we mixing unrelated pieces? What is your plan to find out, sir? For now, we play along and wait. While we wait, we learn. Vivek said the terrorists want the Empire out of the Cordova system. I want everything on them. I'll have an intelligence summary drawn up, sir. Do that, but I also want their own words. Get me their manifesto and any captured messages. Shaw turned to leave the bridge. I am not sure if they have published an official document, Crichton said after him. Search the HoloNet. All political terrorist groups make a show of their demands. I want to know their goals in their own words. Shaw had hoped to find some clue in the writings of the Cordova Freedom Front, but what he found just convinced him that they were no real threat. Their rambling scrawl suggested little to no organization, and their constant insistence on their vastness suggested a small group. Shaw had become convinced a single author had composed most of their propaganda. The writings all had the same style, similar word choices, and grammatical structure. Further, their overly aggressive writing style suggested weakness. When pushed, their threats were so extreme it was almost comical. The group boasted about their power because they knew they had none. This sparked even more questions. The evidence suggested that the demonstrations were coordinated, but not by the CFF. They could only claim responsibility and retroactively make it seem as if they had planned the events. Otherwise, the writer would be so vague in their threats that any disturbance could be claimed as their action. It was all so melodramatic. No, thought Shaw. If this group really had a wing of starfighters, they would not be able to keep quiet about it. There would be vids of the fighters no matter how outdated the craft were. Likewise, this pirate leader, Gorath, was also not behind the protests or the relay attacks. Gorath would steal the relays or destroy them. He also had no power within the system itself. He did command no small amount of fear outside the system. Shaw's heart sank. Someone was behind these events. Shaw had a working theory, but shuddered at the implications of it. There were reports of mysterious events in the system, almost magical happenings reported here and there. Years ago, during the Clone Wars, this sector had been a scene of many skirmishes. A force led by Jedi Knight Darlon Lee had been in the Cordova system when the war ended. His ship had been destroyed and his death assumed, but never confirmed. By the time the ground forces had located the wreckage, wildlife had apparently consumed the body. The CFF and this Gorath lacked the subtlety to manipulate. But a Jedi? That could explain quite a lot. The pirates' meteoric rise to power and their unprecedented success in their raids all unlikely, but with a Jedi leading or assisting them, suddenly their ability to find the least protected ships, launch lightning raids, and then vanish. Shaw had never met Darlon Lee, but knew of him. He had a reputation like most of the Jedi, brave and honorable. Shaw doubted that someone like Lee would be behind the protests or helping pirates, but stranger things had happened. Perhaps Lee was trying to conduct some kind of asymmetrical warfare. Guerrilla campaigns could be successful, and the Jedi were aware of that. This Gorath could be a front man, or perhaps Lee himself in disguise. Many of the surviving Jedi had tried to fight against the Empire, not without good reason. Shaw still hoped somehow, some way, he could undo that damage. The Empire needed the Jedi, and needed them badly. Some Jedi had tried to overthrow the Republic, but not all Jedi. No. Most Jedi were totally unaware of the Council's actions. The Jedi had to be returned to the Empire, but that was a problem for another day. First, if Lee was alive and sane, Shaw needed to save him. He clicked a button on his desk. Get me everything we have on this pirate Gorath, not just the intelligence summary. Governor Vivix wishes the fleet kept in the system, Admiral Karvak explained. Our exosystem patrols and escorts are kept to a minimum. Kept to a minimum? The more Shaw heard, the less he liked. The inner system is secure. The pirates attack shipping in the approach corridors, not the core. I understand, the portly man leaned back in his chair. The pirates are a problem, but the civil unrest must be quelled first. Our forces are needed here. I understand your concern, Admiral. I share it. However, we are far from Imperial Central. We do not have vast fleets and legions of troops. What resources we have must be used to control the population. Shaw rubbed his forehead. A week of reading in HoloNews had made the situation in Cordova much more clear. Local security forces should be more than capable of police actions. Our troops and warships should be deployed hunting these pirates. I agree with you. However, Governor Vivix has made the point most clear. The inner system problems must be solved before the fleet may venture out. Until Cordova's obligation to the Empire is met, all focus is on raising the funds, and those funds cannot be raised when cities are crowded with unproductive protesters. The two problems are connected. The economic drain of the pirates is a root cause of the problem. Vivix tax increases are fueling the protests. Remove the pirates, the sector's economy improves, tax revenue increases, and Cordova can meet its obligations, Shaw explained. It was as if none of these recent imperial appointees had ever taken a basic economics course. Neither of us have the authority to override Governor Vivix, Admiral. Until I hear otherwise, I must keep all fleet elements within the system. Cordova is the jewel of the system. Order must be maintained. Shaw was getting the impression that Admiral Karvak was in full agreement with Vivix, despite his insistence otherwise. After all, it was hard to lose a battle if you never fought one. Creaking hinges drew their attention as the large wooden door swung open and Vivix entered the room. His dress was only slightly less ridiculous than when Shaw had met the man at the gala weeks before. While his clothes were more or less modern, he wore a cape that was tacky to say the least. What really made Shaw suppress both a sigh and a laugh was the golden crown. True, the Cordovans had a tradition of an appointed Lord Protector, a role now more or less filled by the Imperial Sector Governor. But to actually wear the thing in everyday settings, Shaw's opinion of the man fell further. Admiral Karvak is correct, the governor announced. Hunting pirates will do no good if order breaks down in the sector capital. The fleet must be kept near home to combat the terrorists and quell the protesters. Once our obligations to the Empire are met, we can take a breath and hunt down these minor criminals. By terrorists, I assume you mean the Cordova Freedom Front? I dare to say we have nothing to worry about from them. The protests can be resolved by solving the economic problems. It was all in my report, Shaw reiterated. I read your report, Admiral. I must say I was disappointed. Your analysis was based more on grammar and writing styles than hard military facts. You still have not found our mysterious starfighters. You claim they cannot be in the hands of the CFF, but offer no evidence of this other than your meaningless psychobabble. You suspect a dead Jedi is involved with the pirates, yet you can offer no proof of this. You cannot explain who is attacking the communications relays or why. Yet you claim that stopping some thugs outside the system will solve all our problems. No. First we must secure the capital, meet our obligations. Then and only then can we move outward. A spiraling circle of safety and security. Do you not agree? In this instance, no. The value of the goods stolen, ships damaged or destroyed, and the civilians kidnapped are a drain not only on Cordova's economy, but the entire system. The tax revenue lost on these items alone would be enough to meet the sector's obligations. The now dangerous nature of the trade corridors is increasing insurance and shipping costs. This is also lowering trade profits and therefore tax revenue. The protests are not the work of some terrorist mastermind. They are in response of the increased taxes, decreased availability of consumer goods, and increased prices on what is available. "You sound like a university professor," Vivix commented with some venom in his voice. Shaw took the insult as a compliment. He thought for a moment about a reply, but decided on, "We should all strive to be scholars." "Perhaps, but at the moment such intellectuals are part of the problem." Vivek straightened. "Admiral Shaw, I need a Avenger to depart to the city of Inverness on Cordova 2. Several of the professors at the university there are to be taken into custody for sedition." "That is a dangerous move," Shaw commented. "Has the Kotori Assembly issued the proper writs?" "Admiral," Vivek smiled broadly, "the Imperial Senate has just passed the Expedited Judicial Review Bill. Imperial sector governors now have the authority to issue such arrests when the sedition is public. These professors openly call for a return to the Republic and teach classes that include positive messages about the Jedi. Additionally, they have ignored my repeated requests to amend their actions, and now the students themselves are threatening to resist my attempt to remove their teachers. I cannot stand by and allow the university to become a recruiting ground for extremists. A show of force is necessary. I want the people to see such actions are not without consequence, and a star destroyer visible in the night sky with fighters flying and drop ships descending. Now that is a powerful message indeed." Shaw opened his mouth to reply, but saw it would do no good. "Yes, sir."